The clean freak. Everything in the apartment has a place, and they know immediately when something has moved. The dishes get washed before they are even fully finished eating. The bathroom counter stays clear, the trash goes out before it is full, and the floors get swept more than most people think is necessary. Living with someone like this can feel oddly peaceful at first because the space is always in order. But over time, the standards create tension. When their idea of clean does not match yours, small things start to feel like failures. They are not trying to control the space out of cruelty. For many of them, a tidy environment is the only way they can actually relax, and a messy one feels genuinely difficult to exist inside. The ghost. You know they live there because their shoes are by the door and their food is in the fridge, but you almost never see them. They come and go quietly, keep odd hours, and move through the apartment without leaving much trace. Conversations are short and friendly enough, but never really go anywhere. Some ghost roommates are simply private people who keep their home life separate from everything else. Others are dealing with something that makes socializing feel heavy. Either way, sharing a space with someone you barely know creates a strange dynamic, not because anything is wrong, but because the relationship never quite forms into anything real. The loud one. Sound travels differently when you live with this person. Music through the wall, phone calls in the kitchen at full volume, the television turned up past what the situation seems to require. It is rarely intentional. Many loud roommates genuinely do not notice how much noise they produce because they grew up in louder households where that level was simply normal. The problem is that quiet matters more to some people than others. When one person's background volume is another person's interruption, the apartment stops feeling like shared space and starts feeling like an ongoing negotiation that never fully resolves. The homebody. They are always home. Morning, evening, weekend, weekday. When you come back from work, they are on the couch. When you wake up on a Saturday, they are already in the kitchen. There is nothing wrong with preferring your own space, and plenty of people are simply most comfortable at home. But when you share that home, having someone constantly present makes it difficult to feel like you ever truly have the place to yourself. The apartment stops being somewhere to decompress and starts feeling like a shared office where someone else is permanently in the room. The passive-aggressive. They never say when something is bothering them. Instead, the dishes pile up and a note appears on the counter. The temperature gets changed without a word. Responses get shorter. The energy in the apartment shifts in ways that are hard to name but impossible to ignore. This usually comes from someone who does not know how to start a direct conversation about conflict, or who has learned that saying things plainly tends to go badly. The frustrating part is that nothing ever gets resolved because the actual problem is never spoken out loud. It just circulates in the background, quietly making everything worse. The borrower. Things go missing without discussion. Not stolen exactly, but borrowed indefinitely and returned in some changed state or not at all. Your charger, a jacket, the good pan. Sometimes they ask, often they do not. When you mention it, they are genuinely surprised that it was a problem, which is somehow more frustrating than if they had known. The borrower usually operates from a version of shared space logic, where things in the apartment are communally available unless clearly stated otherwise. The gap between their understanding and yours is rarely about dishonesty. It is about two different assumptions of what living together actually means. The host. The apartment is rarely just yours with this roommate. There are friends on the couch, partners sleeping over, people you have never met eating breakfast in the kitchen. For the one doing the hosting, it feels completely natural because their social life and home life overlap entirely, and they see no reason to separate them. For the person living alongside them, it can feel like the apartment has become semi-public with no clear rules. The issue is almost never the guests themselves. It is the feeling that the space stopped being somewhere you could fully relax without first checking who might be there. The workaholic. They are either at work or at home working. The laptop is always open, the phone is always nearby, and meals get eaten quickly at the desk. They are pleasant when you catch them, but genuinely distracted. In many ways, they are easy to live alongside because they ask very little and stay out of the way. The harder part is the atmosphere they bring with them. A constant low hum of productivity fills the apartment, and after a while a normal evening of rest starts to feel somehow insufficient, even when it is not. The slob. The mess spreads gradually. A dish left out becomes several. Clothes end up on the floor near the couch, then on the couch. The bathroom develops a layer that nobody addresses. Most slobs are not indifferent to cleanliness in general. They just have a much higher tolerance for disorder before it registers as something that needs attention. What feels urgent to one person feels invisible to another. Living with a slob is less about one dramatic incident and more about the slow accumulation of small things that eventually make the shared space feel like it belongs to only one of you. The night owl. Their day starts when yours is ending. The kitchen sounds begin around midnight. The shower runs at 2 in the morning. Lights stay on in the hallway well past the hour that most people need the apartment to be quiet. Schedules that do not overlap at all can actually make a shared apartment run smoothly in terms of space, but the noise rarely cooperates. The night owl is usually not inconsiderate by nature. They simply exist on a different rhythm, and when that rhythm cuts into your sleep often enough, it starts affecting more than just the mornings. The oversharer. Within the first week you know about their last relationship, their family situation, their health history, and several opinions they probably should have held back. They talk openly and at length, and they treat the apartment like a safe space to process everything out loud. For some people, this kind of openness is refreshing and easy to meet. For others, it creates an unexpected weight, because being someone's primary audience at home is a role most people did not realize they were signing up for. The oversharer is rarely difficult in the traditional sense. They are just a lot to hold, and not everyone has the capacity for it. The freeloader. They were supposed to have a job lined up, or the money was coming from somewhere specific, or it was just going to be 1 month while they sorted things out. Somehow the situation extended further than anyone planned, and now a gap exists between what is owed and what is paid. They are usually apologetic, sometimes helpful around the apartment in ways that feel like a trade, and genuinely convinced that things are about to change. Living with a freeloader rarely involves conflict in the open. It sits quietly as a financial imbalance that one person is carrying and the other is not fully acknowledging, and that imbalance tends to outlast the friendship. If any of these felt familiar, you have probably lived with at least one of them. Drop in the comments which type you have had, or which one you think you are. And if you want more videos like this one, subscribing takes 1 second, and it is the easiest way to make sure you do not miss what comes next.